Alright, we're here at the last one. Maybe. I don't know if there will be more that it unlocks after I do this, but I'm actually hoping there is. I like doing these stories, these are fun. Anyways, let's see what the World Legacy is doing. What? I like this. This is nice. Not only are we getting the holy hell. What? I'm gonna need a minute. Whoa. The story is great, but why didn't they do that with with all these other stories? The Element Savers, the Absolute Monarchs. I think they were both in the same one. That's what I was assuming. The Ruin of Demise, I think, was in the same one. I don't know what Megalith was part of. But, like, seriously. Why didn't they do that for the Cleafords, the Shaddolls? Like, why didn't they do that? Whoa. They went all out for the World Legacy. I think it's because it's, like, most people's favorite, but it's either got to be World Legacy or it's got to be the Shaddol arc. Essentially, the Naturia, Sylvana, whatever the hell it is. Oh, that's a lot. I have to see what the rewards are. Okay, I might get that. Oh, sleeves. You just know how to get me to do things, don't you? You get what? Ningirsu? You get Ningirsu from this? I almost said Nibiru. Dude, if you got Nibiru from that, oh, that would have been nice. So this, no, not this one. This one gives you the crawler stuff, kind of. This is all World Legacy. I like this. All right. Oh, and I get the baby dragon. Baby dragon's so good. Here we go. Chosen by the World Legacy. The rulers of the star were not human. The world was ruled by 7 mechanical life forms known as the Mech Knights. And across the land spread their vanguard, the Crawlers. Wait, so the Mech Knights were in charge of the Crawlers? I thought it was the Crawlers were just, you know, defense mechanisms. Ooh. These Crawlers tend to swarm and destroy all human-made structures in their paths. They most likely lack any emotion. Well, as machines, yeah. Helpless before those ruthless machines, mankind had no choice but to live in hiding. Oh, really? Dense with thick trees, gloomy even in the daytime, a hinterland known as the Forest of the Stars. Therein lays a hidden village where humans live inconspicuously. The village was protected by a barrier that would prevent intruders from invading or even discovering it. The ritual wand passed down through many generations made the barrier extremely resistant, and it had never broken. Not once. But even so, the villagers were suffocated by their anxieties day after day, not knowing when the great threat would come knocking at their doorstep. From within the suffocating unease of the village, there were still those determined to fend off the Crawlers. Aram and Ningirsu. There was a reason they fought so desperately. It was the village priestess and the younger sister of Ningirsu, Ib. Okay. She was a village priestess? That's kind of cool. From birth, the priestess possessed a divine power that synergizes with their ritual wand to create barriers. Okay. Oh, that explains why she does her protect effect. That's pretty cool. They incorporated that. Ib's power was the strongest the village had ever seen in its history, but it was meager compared to the frightening forces that grew stronger by the day. Her companions saw how hard she was trying to put on a brave face for the villagers and wished they could lighten her burden, even by a little. Aram and Ningirsu, along with the baby dragon Imduk, crossed the barrier in hopes of slaying even just one crawler. If you were hoping for just one crawler, I have some bad news for you, because the deck basically informs you there is not just one crawler. But then again, I see the future cards, so I know what happens. One day, Ib heard from the inside, the forest, a faint sound like that of a human voice. Aram and Ningirsu could not hear it. However, Ib proclaimed that she keeps hearing the voice. Afraid Ib would venture into the forest alone, Aram, Ningirsu, and the baby dragon Imduk set foot inside the hinterlands. So, do they just have dragons here where it's just like, baby dragon Imduk, he's just here. He's just their pet. They just have a pet dragon for no reason. It's just part of the story. Just like right there. He's just like, here, he's coming. Alright. Yep. The voice that she heard. The sun had already set, leaving only starlight to guide them. The scent of trees and soil hung in the cold air. Though her footing was unsure, Ib ventured into the forest as if she was being guided. Careful not to lose sight of her, the three looked out for crawlers as they followed her. Suddenly, with an abrupt shriek, Ib vanished before their eyes. I like how they keep putting like the monster cards right next to it and then they're like putting the monsters outside the cards. That's very creative. I like that. Rushing into the place where they'd lost sight of her, they saw Ib had fallen off a low cliff. Oh, okay. It appeared Ib had been so spellbound in the direction of the voice that she hadn't noticed there was no ground before her. The three descended the cliff and were relieved to find Ib uninjured. That makes this... Okay, this is the field spell, I believe. Oh, wow, that... Okay, this is what I was saying in the Monarch, or maybe the Ruin. You get a closer look at these arts that you probably wouldn't have even fully noticed, even if you looked at it for hours. Just seeing it this up close really gives it more detail. I love it. Before their eyes, a mysterious structure appeared. If it had been there before, they would have noticed it, but as if the structure had been there for hundreds of years, it was ensconced, placed in trees and entwined in ivy. Wrapped in trees and entwined in ivy. There we go. Ensconced. What the heck kind of word is that? They nervously approached the building. The wand Ib held in her hand glowed, and the building started to rumble as if in response. A mighty light radiated from the building, blowing aside the trees and cloaking everything in blinding light. Even with their eyelids closed, the light pierced mercilessly through. That's a good description. I like that. When they finally appeared, their eyes a fairy fluttered in the air before them. Oh, when they finally opened their eyes. I don't know why I say appeared. The fairy spoke to the startled party. I am Lee, the World Chalice Fairy. A spirit that has been sealed inside the building that released the bright light, known as the World Legacy, World Chalice. In previous time, it was her duty to guide mankind, but was obstructed by the Mekk-Knights. For many years, she had been waiting for a world hero capable of activating the World Chalice, and that they are those world heroes. Please lend me your strength and gather the scattered starlight. Save the world from the great darkness. She spoke. Though bewildered by Lee's story, Aram and the group were moved by her earnestness and decided to lend a hand. Well, yeah, of course. Hearing their resolve, the Fairy Lee smiled and bestowed upon them the powers of the awakened World Chalice. They must really enjoy like the powers that they get from this, because like seriously, that's pretty cool. That it's just like a fairy's like, hey, you want to help save the world? And then gives you the powers of essentially gods. Well, I'm not even sure, just like very powerful warriors, I guess. What makes the World Chalice? Okay, I know what makes it. It's very good. I like it. You can bring out a slew of powerful Link monsters by starting with summoning normal monsters and leading them to further Link summon. When World Chalice Link monsters are sent from the field to the graveyard, you can special summon a World Chalice monster from the hand. You can this can allow you to perform even more Link summons and recover quickly from your opponent's attack. Keep World Chalice monsters ready in your hand for an even more effective strategy. Well, I made an entire World Legacy like arc deck, and then they kept adding more story, so I didn't get to fully finish everything, but like, so much fun. I loved it. Okay. Let's start with Aram, the Blade Master. Summon chosen with World Chalice and the Link summon in Duke. Oh my god. Okay, fine. Start with him. Then go into Imduke. Okay, and then Imduke allows us to additional normal summon. So we summon. And then we go into there. Chalice Blade Master. Nice. Alright. You sent Imduke the World Chalice Dragon to the graveyard, so use its effect to special summon a World Chalice monster from your hand. Okay. And then now attack the opponent's life directly. Don't go into any. Oh, yeah. Because the World Chalice Ningirsu is only 25, I believe. But yeah, that wouldn't have killed. He has to watch as his friend gets power, and he's just like, oh. I'm just gonna stay in my traditional robes, if you don't mind. Oh, yeah. They're basically giving me the entire deck. I love it. They really are. That's great, because that means I don't have to craft a thing. Oh, that's not true. There we go. Alright, we got Ib. And then I gotta get Imduke. Alright, here we go. They're activating the World Chalice. Let's see what continues. To protect humankind, accepting Lee's earnest wishes, Aram and the group promised to help her. Accompanied by Lee, the group set off to return to the village, but they encountered several crawlers who blocked their way. Aram, Ningirsu, and Umduk stood before the crawlers with their new strength coursing through their bodies. As they stood between the monsters and what they set out to protect, tension hung heavy in the air. A cold sweat dripped from Aram's chin and damped the forest soil. As the great tension crescendoed, the party suddenly seized upon their foes, lunging towards the exoskeletons of the crawlers. Aram's sword cleaved the enemies with ease, Ningirsu's lance pierced nimbly, and Umduk's claws teared ferociously at the metal hides. You know, it's very lucky they have the World Chalice power, because if they were regular, just humans, they would be dead by now, and they wanted to take on at least one. That's ambitious. The battle was over almost as quickly as it had started. The power of the World Chalice that Lee had granted them was much greater than expected. They couldn't conceal their surprise at the World Chalice's great power. that now dwelled in their bodies. According to Lee, there are 6 more world legacies in the world with equal power to the World Chalice. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's 7. There's still a couple more. I'm pretty sure there were still more after that. If they were to be recovered, it would be possible not only to destroy the crawlers, but to destroy the Mech Knights who ruled the world. I love the World Chalice crown. Oh my god, that was one of my favorites, but my absolute favorite was the shield. The shield was so stally, it's stupid. It was funny. This information provided a great ray of hope for the village people who lived so long in the gloomy forest. Following Lee's words and the guidance of the World Chalice, the young folk in the Forest of the Stars set out on a journey to seek the next world legacy. It's an interesting way to hear it, because when I first heard it before, it was like somebody who was presenting the cards in front, right? It's way better to hear it like this, like an actual story, rather than somebody explaining what the story is going on. Ooh. I love this card. I don't do insects, but I do crawlers. Crawlers are fun. That's all I'm gonna say. And so began the journey of Aram and the party in search of the world legacy. Notice how they say Aram and the party. He's the leader, even though Ningirsu is probably the oldest one out of all of them. Although the party was on a mission to save the world, as their first time in the outside world, everything they saw and heard felt fresh and vivid. No matter how many crawlers would appear, Aram and his friends would fight them off, and they did so for several days. Man, they got some serious power if that's the case. How long must they have walked with Lee as their guide and the World Chalice as their beacon? A humid wind caressed their cheeks. Okay, sure. Before the party lay a vast swamp. Okay, that makes way more sense why they would explain that. I was really confused. I'm like, what? A great artifact was submerged in the muddy expanse, the giant armor lying in the bog. Was one of the express purpose of this trip the world legacy known as the World Armor? However, they found more than just the world armor there. Not only on the surface of the armor, but also on the inside, dark figures squirmed. Dude, this looks so menacing. I love it. Like the way that they make the crawlers actually glow. That's nice. Like ants on the corpse of the dead insects, crawlers swarmed on the world armor. Their number was countless, from red monocule emanated a bizarre light that filled the party's field of vision. The horrific sound of the crawlers' metal hides scraping against each other united into a thunderous cacophony, as if the earth was shaking. Standing before the three were superior specimens possessing power far greater than the crawlers that had crossed their path previously. Witnessing an overwhelming sight, the party decided it was reckless to try to break through from the front. On Lee's suggestion, the three friends dared not engage and instead headed for the world armor. Alright, and then another duel. Another duel against the crawlers, I'm assuming. I'll do Ningirsu later. And the reason I was using Monarchs is because most of the ritual decks have a hard time against it. Mostly because of Monarch Erupt. Ugh, that's such a stupid card. Very, very Legacy Armor, and there we go. You're right, the crawlers aren't that hard. Your powers are immeasurable. Nice. Now, to finish part 1, Chosen of the World Legacy. With the world armor in front of them, Aram's party began, blocked by a swarm of crawlers. No, seriously, it keeps saying Aram's party. It's not even like his family or anything, his friends. It's just Aram and his party. Jeez. No matter how many monsters they defeated, a new swarm appeared, trampling in debris of the fallen. New divided, the party struggled. The seemingly endless battle had whittled the party's strength down to almost nothing. They were unable to advance, but retreating wasn't an option either. They had no choice but to fight until all strength was gone. Just then, as Aram and the party were about to collapse, Lee called out to them. By defeating the superior X-Crawler, you should be able to halt the movement of the other crawlers. In the midst of the battle, Lee had discovered that the X-Crawler was the commander of the crawlers. Trusting Lee's insight, the party pierced through the siege and closed in on the X-Crawler. The X-Crawler resisted fiercely, but then channeled the last of their strength to defeat it. Just as the commander collapsed, the swarm of crawlers surrounding the party suddenly stopped moving. That's actually good to know. I'd never do that. Greatly wounded, Aram and the party finally arrived under the world armor, but there were more than just crawlers there. It's the Power Rangers. 7 colors of light suddenly shone down from the heavens. There appeared the 7 Knights. The figures before them were metallic and emitted radiant glow that enveloped their bodies in a lustrous light. The Mech Knight who ruled over mankind and all of the world had now descended to this very place. Aram and his friends found it difficult to describe the figures with mortal words. Could only stand frozen in their otherworldly presence. Then suddenly, the Mech Knights reached their hands out silently, and mysterious energy sprung forth from their hands and began to shroud Ib. Ib was exhausted, completely spent. Why would you put it that way? You're confusing me now. Tell the story the way you were telling it before, geez. The magical barrier provided by Ib had no resistance to the force field. Oh, that sucks. The rest of the party desperately struggled to rescue Ib. However, with the same light from which they appeared, Ib and the 7 Knights vanished without a trace. Lee cautioned of the danger. If Ib's wand were stolen and the otherworld legacies fell into the wrong hands, Aram and his comrades set out to rescue Ib and recover the next world legacy. I'm just gonna say this, if you weren't looking carefully, that freaking smug-ass fairy was smiling. I'm just saying, it was smiling. I know what happens in the story, I'm not spoiling anything, but I'm just saying, it was smiling. You could clearly see it if you were paying attention. New gate option open. Oh, okay, so it's only 2 parts of the story. Unless there's more. We'll find out next time, though. Thanks for watching.